Now, I knitted those years, I knitted a nice universal outfit for my little boy, a cap and jersey, socks and everything. So he had the ball under the hand and he's standing in front of the crew universals. And when the whistle blew, they had to run in and he had to run into with the ball, giving the ball off in the field. But when they took the ball away from him, he thought he was going to play with his father now. A little boy like that. So we had it hell to get Clifford off the field. But progressed on and so on and so on. And those years it was so lovely to see the late Mr. Muhammad and the Universal Football Club and Gilly Dixon and Mr. Davis and Desmond Davis and my sons playing. And then they used to have a Dahlia Queen ball in the City Hall. We used to have those years. What was the next one about? The Dahlia Queen ball, and there was something else. But it was so joyful to go to the City Hall and now you're going to enjoy. I wasn't a dancer, not at all. My husband was a ballroom dancer and he was a dancer. But dance with me will tramp on my toes. And it was so lovely to be connected with rugby, and now my sons used to play for Pride soccer.
Well, the communities rallied around the club sport because there were fierce rivalries that existed. I mean, the one team you wanted to beat in Kimberley was Arabian College. Arabian College was a team that was birthed out of the Malay camp. I think in 1903, it was established in 1903. And it was a club with a very, very strong Muslim ethos. And long before we even heard about jihad and Osama bin Laden in Kimberley, we had Arabian College. And they were fierce, man. They were known as Dibaya, or the Bees, because I think I played in one match where we beat them. But that was just after the end of Ramadan. They had just come back from their fast. And the thing is, we even had a different competition. When Ramadan started, we would go into a different phase of the competition because Arabian College was not there. It's like having the World Cup without the All Blacks. You need the All Blacks to be there. So it was with Arabian College. And then you must now remember, once they found their feet after the Ramadan, it was bad. I think during the time that I played, the only other team that really stood up to Arabian College was a team called Young Collegians. And Young Collegians was an amazing team, produced the most amazing players. You had at one stage, at scrum half, you had Kingsley Erlang. At fly half, you had Godfrey Erlang. At first center, you had Andre Erlang, three brothers. And the three of them alone were virtually a team on their own. You just could not, you couldn't do anything against him. And now, Godfrey wasn't a particularly big guy on fly off, but he was probably one of the most amazing athletes I have seen in terms of kicking a ball. And we played with leather balls in those days. So those clubs, Arabian College had their community that rallied around them. Thistle Rugby Football Club had their community that rallied around them. And each of these communities had their histories, they had their history, their heroes, they had their folklores attached to those clubs. Because these clubs didn't just appear out of nowhere. These clubs were birthed out of Kimberley's diamond-bearing soil. They came about because of things that happened in Kimberley. Kimberley is a historic city. So when these clubs descended on the Union Grounds, which is now known as the A.R. Abbas Stadium, to play in a match and Arabian College was playing Thistle, you knew that there were going to be fireworks. Even if your team was not playing, you would want to be there because you want to see what the Barnes brothers or the Markhams are going to do to the Alexanders and the Maris and so on. What is going to happen there? There was another guy there that played fly half, Enrico Bartman. I haven't seen him in years. What an amazing athlete. Ralph Honey, who played for the Young Collegians. I saw him at school. And he played for Floors High as eighth man. He passed away a few years ago. I mean, you know, there's a guy that we should be talking about. We should be celebrating, but nobody knows about him. I mean, even in Kimberley, Mr. Dennis Jacobs. I'd never seen Mr. Dennis Jacobs play, but I grew up listening to stories about Dennis Jacobs. His nickname was Ayer Jacobs. But we grew up knowing these names. So communities were drawn to their heroes within the clubs, and when those clubs went to go play at the Union grounds, it was a derby day every weekend. There was a lady who was the matriarch of Arabian College, and her name was Mrs. Fatima Alexander. I so wish she was still around so that I could speak to her about her memories of rugby. She would not miss a match where her beloved Arabian College played. She would come in early in the morning with her blanket and her umbrella and her bag of goodies. I don't know what was in that cooler box or that picnic basket that she always used to have, but she wouldn't move. From the time she arrived at the Union ground, she'd be sitting on that stand, that Arabian College stand, and she would be there cheering for her boys. And she'd be and she wasn't the most delicate of ladies either, so she gave as good as she got. But there's a book to be written just about her. But we are not celebrating these people because we have taken community-centeredness and we've created these idols on a professional level. And we keep on repeating the adverts on the TV all the time, telling you what these guys do for us, when in reality, we do more for them than they do for us. Because you must remember, Mandela and de Klerk and the ANC engineered the transition to democracy through sport, because sport, professional sport, tasted liberation before anybody in this country could vote. In 1991 already, Mandela and his cohorts, together with the Nationalist Party, engineered a way for sport to serve as a distraction, not as a social, cohesive community builder.